I'm Ariana Grande.
Hi, I'm Cynthia Erivo.
And you're listening to the Broadway Podcast Network.
Visit bpn.fm to discover more.
There's a cat over here. There's a cat over there. And the wrong one died. And the wrong one died.
Welcome to The Wrong Cat Died, the podcast breakdown of the catastrophe. I'm your host, Mike Abrams, and today we have another amazing guest. She played Jellylorum and Grittlebone in the 1987 third U.S. national tour. So welcome, Joanna Beck, and thank you for joining me.
Oh, thank you for having me.
I am very excited to talk to you because I have talked to some Jellylorums before, but not to anybody who's done Grittlebone. So we'll get there. We'll ask all my crazy questions about your character. But what I'd love to first start with is just your history with cats. I mean, it's when you were on the third U.S. national tour, it was when it was just starting to kind of tour around the United States. So what did you know about the show before being cast in it? Were you aware of it? Was it, was it starting to pick up its lore at that time?
Oh, it was a huge hit when it came on Broadway in I think it was 81. Mm-hmm. And I saw it on Broadway because I was living in New York at the time and pursuing theater. And so I saw it, had a friend who's one of the understudies, got to see Betty Buckley do Grisabella.
Wow.
So I saw the original, pretty much the original cast. And just knew it was a huge hit and was something that looked like a tremendous amount of fun to be a part of. So, but it was a few years later that, because I went out on tour with Showboat with Donald O'Connor, and then came back in and did that on Broadway. And this was actually in 85 that we went out on this tour from 85 to 87.
Mm-hmm.
And, or was it 87 to 89? No, it was 85 to 87, I believe. And I was actually in an audition for something else entirely. And Andy Zerman, who was casting director, one of the casting directors for Johnson Liff, asked me to come and audition for Cats. So I did. I wasn't pursuing it. I don't think, it wasn't, I was just going to any auditions. That's what you did. You just went to audition for anything you could. And 5 auditions later, I got a phone call that they wanted me to do Jellylorum and Grittlebone. 5
auditions. Wow.
5 callbacks.
That is a rigorous process.
It was a rigorous process.
Yeah.
There were a lot of people. I mean, there were people. This was when you stood in line to sign up for an audition, and you were there very early in the morning, and the lines went around the block. So there were a lot of people wanting to be in that show.
And what was that show like from crowd reaction standpoint? Because this is, again, it was something so unique, so different. And it's the first time most people are seeing it experiencing this on tour, because you're going city to city and really introducing it, unless someone happened to see Broadway or a version of, I think it was in LA. There was only a couple versions before your tour. What kind of crowd reaction did you get? Like, what was the lore of it at that point?
You mean the crowd reaction on tour?
Yeah, in 87, 85 to 87.
It was completely sold out. I don't think in the 2 years we maybe had 1 week that was not completely sold out.
Wow.
It was, people really wanted to see it. I'm not sure if they wanted to see it because they were curious, or whether they had heard about it, whether they had heard the music, whether they had seen it, on Broadway or what. But the crowds showed up, standing ovations all the time. And it just packed. I mean, we were in, I think it was St. Louis Muni outside in the summer. And I think it had something like 12,000 seats. It was sold out every night.
That is pretty amazing. What did they tell you about Jellylorum, about the backstory? I mean, do you remember the information you were given on the character and how to how to play her? Because again, this is pretty early on. There's not, now there's 40 years worth of examples and
Right.
multiple movies and everything else that there's a little bit more for the actors to work with. At that point, I mean, you were kind of basing it off of pretty much 2 or 3 productions that you had
Right.
and what was told to you. So I'm curious what was told.
Sadly, I don't really remember
Oh,
what
no.
was told to me. I mean, I don't remember that we were told a lot about our backstories. I think that David Taylor pretty much left us alone to create our own stories. I know that we had about 3 days solid of just doing cat improvs,
Wow.
literally crawling around on the floor with each other doing cat improvs. I mean, it was fun. I would go home. I had 2 cats in my apartment, and I would go home and get on the floor and just, watch them intently to see what they did and just catch their movements. And I know that sounds pretty silly, but it was actually sort of fun.
It sounds silly, but I've talked to the 2016 cast who did the same. A lot of them said the same thing. It's like the minute they were in tune to that experience, they did a similar type of I think they called it validity school. They would see a cat on the street and would think the same thing. So it is kind of a unique piece of the show. What story did you write? Because if you got to create, how would you describe Jellylorum's backstory?
Well, I was probably I think, if I remember this correctly, the next oldest cast member.
Okay.
Yeah. So I used that in the show as being one of the older cats. So I was very much the mothering type of cat, very protective of the kittens. And then I also used that with Gus, very protective of Gus. So that's sort of how it created, and then it just evolved. And the way it's choreographed also has a lot to do with probably your stories that you can create.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you're choreographed and you're not necessarily with certain cats on stage, then you don't really interact with them.
Yeah, and I think that's where a lot of these rumors come from. There's a very deep rumor mill for cats of which cats are together.
I find that so funny.
Yeah,
it's very funny.
It's where I'm able to piece together. Again, I saw the show twice. I saw it in 2016 and then 2017, I think.
Yeah.
And I've seen the 1998 movie, and that's it. And so there is a little bit of the, how do I piece together this story? And a lot of it comes from this quote unquote rumor mill. And that's a part that I think is kind of a fun part to this show, but it also is where I think the more I've thought about it, the more I've learned. It's a lot of it is because it's just like you're friends with somebody before or after, or it's because of staging or dance numbers or the interactions that you have in your particular production. And so obviously there's a lot of ties for Jellylorum and Gus because of the song. Is there any other relationships that you remember that you thought from just purely from a cat side of okay, I might be this cat's brother or sister, or we have some special relationship?
Pounceful was my son.
Pounceful's your son. Okay.
Mm-hmm. Pounceful was my son. He was one of the ones that I have no idea how much Jelly got around.
Yeah.
In terms of, but I'm sure that probably some of the other kittens could easily have been mine also.
There's a lot of that is kind of, I think, a fun part of the rumor mill is that it's you could probably make an argument that most of that are supposed to be the older cats are very potentially the parents of pretty much all the other kittens.
Right.
So
I would think Monkastrap and I probably had some kittens together.
Okay. So you and Monk. What about Bustopher and you?
I doubt it.
No. Okay.
Yeah, I doubt it. Bustopher could more have been my brother.
Ooh, so I asked this question because I think there is a rumor that potentially Jelly and Bustopher are together or have been together.
Oh,
and that Grizz and Busterford has also been together. And one of like Grizz and you and Jellylorum are friends from growing up. And so there's a little bit of like what happened in that scenario.
oh well. My relationship with Grizz was a lot sort of hands off. I guess is maybe the best way to say that, because I never felt. I felt a lot of empathy for her, but I did not feel like there was a connection that went back.
Okay, so
you
you played more of like you know who she is. You're not friends from growing up.
Maybe much younger, but I think she was older than me.
Okay,
I think Grizz was older than Jelly.
That is, yeah. It's so interesting because again, it's everything you read it's like you just never know. It depends on
You
who.
don't. Well, it's whatever you want it to be.
That's true. That is true. I think that's some of the beauty of the show is that it can be interpreted and done so many different ways, and you get a different. So everyone sees it slightly different. What other pieces do you remember about like the backstory that you were maybe not for Jellylorum, but just overall the story of cats you were told? Because that's a piece I think is so challenging. Is that the plot is so loose?
Well, to me, I think it's actually sort of simple. It is a gathering of a tribe. Old Deuteronomy is the head of the tribe.
Mm-hmm.
And we come together to present to Deuteronomy. I heard somebody say that we chose who went to the Heaviside Layer, and that was never my understanding. It was always Deuteronomy's choice.
I've never heard somebody say that you choose. I've always heard it's Old Deuteronomy.
Oh yeah. Well, I don't know where I got that, but somewhere along the way, I thought I heard somebody say that we all got together to choose who went to the Heaviside Layer.
I mean, at this point, I believe any rumor about the show. So,
but it was basically a gathering of the tribe for those about, almost like a family reunion kind of thing. But during that period of time is when we presented our choices for who we thought should be chosen to go to the Heaviside Layer.
And so you're presenting
and during
Gus.
the whole process of that, there was lots of celebration and lots of reuniting and that sort of thing.
Mm-hmm. So you're presenting Gus, basically saying, I think Gus is the choice.
Yeah.
And what about all the kittens that present? Are they just trying to steal the spotlight, or do they actually think they have a chance?
They're just like a lot of us. They feel like they have an opinion that needs to be heard.
Mm-hmm. So that's it. They're trying to just make sure that they're why shouldn't my opinion be heard just like anybody else's? Mm-hmm.
So
tell me about your relationship with Gus. You're obviously presenting him. How does that come to life?
How
do you become the one to present Gus, I guess, is really like, what is the relationship? Like, why does Gus not present himself completely?
I don't think Gus was capable of presenting himself, really. I mean, although he does have his song that he sings, but I also think that he, I had to really egg him on to get out there to sing his song and to present his story. So I just think he was at an age where without that, he would just have been happy to sit back and just watch.
Just watch and not be part of it.
And not be part of it. He was proud of his background and was happy to tell anybody about his background and what he had accomplished. Mm-hmm. But he had gotten, I guess maybe senile is a word to describe him a little bit.
Okay.
And so my caring for him was to encourage him. I was an encourager for him to get him to come on, relive this for us and let them see who you really are or who you were.
Okay. So you're basically, it's that, choice is being made. You think Gus deserves a choice.
Mm-hmm.
And so but he doesn't even want to go up. He's like, I'm tired. I just want to watch. And so you're kind of trying to push him along. And so that's
right,
kind of your,
because he, well, at least the way Richard and I did it, and some of those were Richard's choices that I played along with or just, fed into. There was a lot of hesitancy there. I really had to almost literally push him forward to sing his part, and the hesitancy in the vocal, the song itself, was indicated that he wasn't really anxious to do this.
Yeah. The other kind of interesting part about your character is that you do Griddlebone.
Mm-hmm.
And so, that's not something, it was something that was loosely thrown into the most recent movie, like the Hollywood movie. It was not in the Broadway revival. So tell me about that whole section of the musical, because it's not something I have a lot of frame of reference for.
I'm sorry you didn't get to see that, because it was just fun, just tremendous amount of fun. So Gus becomes Growl Tiger.
Mm-hmm.
And then, of course, he's on the ship with all of the pirates. And here comes Griddlebone, who is, I thought of her somewhat as like a Mae West kind of character.
Okay.
But yet, at the same time, if you listen to the music of it, operatically, it's the definitive dueling tenor and soprano.
Interesting.
Yeah.
And the premise is essentially this is Gus reliving
one of his roles. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, one of his roles, and you get to kind of play a part in it.
Right. Because here comes the soprano, and I don't know how much opera you've ever seen. But
very little. Very little.
There can be a lot of competition between a tenor and a soprano. And we just took that and went with it and made it a huge comedy routine.
Wow. That's a fun kind of piece of this that I feel like, again, the lore of the show is that there's so many different angles to it that it's something that was loosely brought in to the 2019 movie, but wasn't in the revival. And there's other kind of pieces. So how do you think, like, what is that transition like? Because that's kind of like in the same song. Like, how do you handle that, like two different kind of characters and quote unquote roles when you're doing a show like that?
Well, Gus was sitting on a can, basically. Mm-hmm. He goes and sits back down on a can, or gets up from the can and goes, and his cape that he had on, which was a scraggly thing, he gets it off, and he literally has blow up arms like Popeye that come. I take the can and go off stage, make a costume change, and I literally, most places, went to the back of the house and came down the aisle.
Wow.
And made it was a whole different entrance, because I had, it was like the Conjuring Cat. I left at one place and I showed up in another place.
So how challenging was that in most of these theaters? Because I have heard some horror stories in some of these theaters that getting to the back of the house from the front of the house is a, almost a crawl or a very, very difficult task. On tour, how did you solve that each week? Well,
it had been planned out prior to us getting there, where the stage manager, of course, had put together that route that I was to take. There were only a few places where I couldn't do it, and I had to just somehow come down to the front of the house and maybe go up some steps or something. But most of the time I was able to get around it's the same way we did Green Eyes. Mm-hmm. At the beginning of the show, when you do Green Eyes, you come from the back of the house down to the stage, and then you go back and get backstage, because most theaters have entrances to stage right and stage left in the audience, at the edge of the audience.
Yep.
So, I would either come that way or another back way. The dressers were phenomenal. I literally had maybe a minute and a half to do this. or 2 minutes. Maybe it was a little longer than that. And I ran. But when you're doing this show 8 times a week, your stamina gets built up pretty well. It's pretty amazing.
Of a performance. Yeah, it is quite an athletic feat.
But I would go around, and it went over top of my other costume because those unitards, you couldn't get out of them. Mm-hmm. So it was another unitard that went on top of my unitard. But it was just laid out to the point where I had to sit down. They threw it on me, tied my shoes, put another wig, big, huge. I don't know if you've seen pictures of her. Mm-hmm. And put that on my head, put the gloves on my hand with these long fingernails, and off I went.
Was there any place where it was like a really crazy route that you like had to like go through a bathroom in a crawl space or anything like that?
No, because that wouldn't have been possible.
No, it wouldn't have been
because of you didn't have enough time to do something like that. So if there were places like that, that's when you just came down and went up the stage. Okay. And it's dark, so they just hit you with a spot. And you do, the first line, which is it's an Italian, it's Chi è là, in Italian. And then that's when she and Growl Tiger start their little dueling duet.
That's so fun. I have to find a better version of that on the internet to watch of that scene, because I have yet to find a good one, or at least like a really strong one to be able to kind of piece that together, because it's not part of the storyline that I knew as much about. Is
it not in the London cast version that's on DVD?
The 1998 version, it might be. But I will tell you, I've seen that one time all the way through, and the other times I've seen it in pieces. So maybe I need to just fast forward.
Well, just go watch the top of the second act.
Yeah. I need to just push it all the way through and go watch it. I want to shift gears and talk about the fundraiser that you did recently, but also the fundraiser you did on tour in the 80s. So tell me a little bit about the fundraiser on tour and what that kind of led to with the most recent one. I think you did it. It's coming up on a year that you, maybe not that close.
No, we did it in October.
Yeah,
it was somewhere around.
It was around
Halloween
October
or something. Yeah.
October of 2020. Yeah.
Right. The first one that we did, I wasn't a part of, and I'm trying to remember why. But I wasn't a part of the first one. I remember the second one that we did. Lily Tomlin was on stage with us at one point, and I want to say it was possibly in D.C. Jonathan could tell you more about that. He remembers those details a lot better than I do.
Well, the first one was Kansas City. I know that was the very first one, but then it continued for a while. So the second one was, you said you think it's D.C. and you were on stage. Okay, yeah,
because I remember singing "Make Our Garden Grow" from Candide. And which is a huge number. And interestingly enough, that was the show that Chris Toy and Mark Agnes and I were all doing right before we got hired to do Cats.
So you were reliving old parts.
I was reliving old parts, but that was just a fabulous opportunity to get to do something different and to raise money for a good cause, but to just spend our time in a way that would help others.
Yeah. I think that is a part that I've talked to a few people from your cast, and it's such an amazing cause, and at the time, an amazing, huge fundraiser for the amount raised, what the value of the dollar at that time. Just like, if you do the math today, it's an incredible fundraiser. Yeah. I'm blown away that you would do 8 shows a week on tour, and in your spare time also rehearsing other shows. And so how did you, find the time to do that? How did you manage, as someone who can't perform, sing or dance or do anything? I just imagine you doing your show 8 times a week and then trying to sing. I guess it makes a little sense that it was a previous role, so you knew a lot more of it, but learning all these other numbers and songs and settings, how difficult is that to do?
Well, I think of the one in Kansas City where that was based on a chorus line. Mm-hmm. And most everybody knew the new, it's, the shows. You may not, you may need to do a little bit of work in terms of memorization, but you basically know the show anyway. And of course, but choreography, that's a whole different story. But these dancers, they do it all the time, every day, every year, for years and years and years. And somebody can throw a combination at you and you pick it up right away, just simply because that's what you do all the time. As a singer, somebody throws you a piece of music and you sing through it a couple of times, and you may not have it memorized, but you probably know it, basically, just because you do it all the time.
That's such a skill and talent, and that's what's like so fascinating to see. I mean, which makes sense. It's everyone kind of at the peak of their field doing this and being able to do something that's, seems so challenging, but, it's just kind of second nature.
Well, but I think that's with any field.
For sure.
You do it, when you do it every day, it just does become second nature to you.
Mm-hmm. And then tell me a little bit about the October kind of reunion, I guess, fundraiser.
That was just so much fun and such an incredible blessing. It was, the first time we were all on a Zoom meeting together, it was like, I think we sat there and just laughed because it was just so great to see people that we had not seen in years. We've had a couple of little smaller reunions, but it wasn't with as many people as were on this Zoom call and who were joining in to do this. It was a challenging thing to do because everybody had to sing and record themselves separately. And bless his heart, I don't know how Brian put that all together, but he's a genius.
To stitch everything together, because you recorded it. I mean, it was all done individual, and then it's this beautifully put together piece. And
not to mention that song is hard. Yeah. And when you had not sung it in 30 years, it was that I had to sing through it quite a few times to try to get it back into my voice. But it was just a lot of fun. Just a lot of fun. It was such a cool thing to watch too, and I love that the fundraising actually is still going, and the link's still open. So links in the description for anybody that can donate, because it is such an amazing cause. Let's do some rapid fire, and I want to get to my kind of $1 million question. I love the whole premise of the show, and I'm curious to hear your take, especially as someone who defended Gus's honor in this. But before we get there, if you were not Jellylorum and Grintlebone, which cat would you want to play if you could just be anybody? Victoria.
Victoria, you want to do the incredible dance number? And
I started ballet when I was 6 years old, and I at one point thought I might dance for a living, but then when I realized that I probably wouldn't be able to sing, because that's you have to put on blinders, I think, to dance. It's just got to be your total focus. Mm-hmm. Then I just said, well, I'm just going to be the best dancer I can be, but I need to sing also. Yeah. But if I would give anything to do that solo, to be able to do that solo.
Yeah, it is just memorable gorgeous. Part. Yeah, it's such an incredible
Joanne Hunter thing. To watch her do that every night was sheer heaven.
Yeah, it's an incredible part of the show. It's definitely a piece that is super memorable, and I was close enough. I was pretty close to the not had great seats the first time I saw it, because I saw a preview. I just remember sitting there watching that, going, "That looks so hard, so difficult to do."
That takes it's astounding.
Who is your favorite and least favorite character?
Gus is probably my favorite, and McCavity is probably my least favorite.
Okay, so you stick with Gus is the person you're defending always, and then you don't like the bad guy.
Yeah, I love. Yeah, I have a deep love for Gus, and McCavity just. I have a hard time with anybody who, well, it's like a mama bear. It's, defending her cubs. Anybody that tries to hurt any of the tribe, I have a problem with that.
I have found it so interesting that most of the cast members I've talked to answer with the lens of their character, because you probably played it so long. Whereas for me, I'm someone who's not been any particular cat, I'm always just like, well, yeah, here's why I don't like this one, or here's why I love this one. And it has no reference to like, oh, because I'm a jelly, I probably would think this way. And I've really found that like you spend so much time in that character that it does influence your decisions there. What about favorite song?
It's interesting. The one that would stick in my head the most that I would was Mr. Mistopheles.
Mm-hmm. Well, yeah, same name over and over again.
Well, that, and there was just a joyousness about it, about him.
That's a very interesting one because it is such a fun, upbeat, loving song.
Right.
The one that got stuck in my head when I saw it the first time was Mungo, Jerry, and Rebel Teaser.
Mm-hmm.
And the one that gets stuck in my head now, or like the one I sing the most now, and sing's the wrong term, I like just hum because I can't sing, is McCavity. Gets stuck in my head all the time. That's
a great song. That is a great song.
I love hearing because there's no really wrong answer. It's kind of fun to hear a bunch of people's different takes to it. Yeah. Here's a question that I love asking, and it's more of a personality of the cat's character. So there's two parts to it. Which cat do you think would be in their element, so like thriving in 1987, and which cat do you think would be in their element thriving in 2021?
Okay, I'm not sure I understand the question. We would be thriving.
Yeah, so if you stuck this character's personality in that era, who would be doing the best? Like if we think about 1987 and we think about today, which cat do you think is, you plop them into that and their personality is just living their best life? 87
would be Tugger.
Rock star, just living it up. Okay, yep. Love that answer. What about today?
Syllabub comes to mind.
Syllabub. Why Syllabub? I don't think anyone said Syllabub for this answer.
Because of what we've gone through in the past year, I would equate that with, how she goes to Grisabella. She's the one that reaches out to Grisabella because of her heart. Her loving heart.
I do think that there's a lot of merit to that. So you're saying because she's so thoughtful and like she'd be taking care of everybody. She'd be the one trying to make sure everyone during the pandemic is safe and healthy and doing what they need to do. That's that's a great answer. I've always taken a different route, which I've always said Bustifer, because it just seems like a kind of a slightly obese cat who just consumes a lot at home is probably doing very well at home. Yeah. All right.
But so in her element, if you use the phrase in her element, then it seems like Syllabub gets to be her authentic self.
That is true. That's very true. So here is my $1 million question. And it's what I've argued. This whole premise of this podcast is I've argued that I don't think Grisabelle was the right Jellicle choice. So I'd love to hear if you defend Grisabella and why, and if not, who would you make as your Jellicle choice if you get to be influence Old Deuteronomy?
I think Grisabella was the correct choice.
I'm surprised. I was waiting for you. I mean, you present Gus. I was waiting for a Gus argument.
He would be obviously my second choice, but Grisabella was the one that was most in need of grace and restoration and forgiveness. And all of those things that you think about as someone being lifted up to the Heaviside layer.
So the whole argument you think is still that is because of need that she is going, and you think she has more need than Gus.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Gus wasn't ostracized like she was. Gus was applauded and loved and adored.
But isn't he just got his last leg?
Yeah, he got old. But he didn't need the restoration that she did. I actually, think about it in terms of if you look at Mary Magdalene or the woman at the well.
Mm-hmm.
That's who I compare her to.
I have always understood the redemption story.
Mm-hmm.
I have never. I think it's kind of an interesting one of like, because she wasn't even there, and she's returning on that evening.
I think she was there.
Oh, you think so? You think she was part of the tribe?
I think she was I think she was in the back in the hiding in dark place. She was in a dark place.
Okay, so you're saying she's kind of been around the tribe for a while still, and she's back, and it's just time.
Yeah.
They don't present it that way as much, or maybe that's not the way I interpreted it, is that she's like returning for the first time because everyone seems so shocked to see her.
Because you don't see her very often. I always thought she just kept to herself, and she didn't feel like she deserved to be around the rest of the tribe.
I think the best part about doing this podcast is that there's so many different ways. And this is, again, I think this is probably the literal translation of the show is that it is a redemption story, and it's about forgiveness and her return, or her, being there and coming back. I've loved that so many people have made other arguments and beyond me. And that there's just so many ways to look at the show. Cause I think you even saying that she's been there the whole time is not the way a lot of people look at her. It's very different than the way a lot of people look at it.
Well, I think that she's just, again, she's an outcast. And so she has, and again, felt just totally undeserving, but she was brought back into the fold.
Mm-hmm.
And
gives everything she can.
Yeah.
This has been so fun.
Me too. Thank you for doing this.
Relive the glory of the show and everything you've done in the fundraiser. So, any parting words about cats that you think the masses need to know? No,
I think that people need to go and look at cats as if without any expectations. Basically, you go and just with an open mind and enjoy it. And let the music wash over you, and watch the incredible choreography, and enjoy that by itself. If you have to have an explanation for everything, then I think you're missing the magic.
I think that was one of the biggest challenges of the show for me, as someone who likes a neat and tidy plot and story, and didn't get that. But also appreciated, everything I saw.
Yeah.
And so I think it is good sound advice to when this show comes back, and it will keep going. There's no way.
It eventually will.
It will eventually be back. That you can watch it from that lens and appreciate it and enjoy the show, and to not go in and try to spend 50 plus episodes trying to figure out the plot on a podcast, but to just go and enjoy it.
Enjoy it for what it is, and what it is going to be different for everybody who watches it.
Well, thank you again for being here.
Thank you.
And thanks everyone else for listening to this episode of The Wrong Cat Died, the podcast breakdown of the catastrophe. To follow along, you can subscribe on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, or anywhere else you listen to podcasts. Follow us on Twitter and Instagram at The Wrong Cat Died, or check out our website, thewrongcatdied.com.